As stated in our target audience profile, we aimed our film at both male and females aged 18 and above. By doing this, we hope to increase the accessibility of our film whilst also ensuring that younger viewers weren't disturbed by the content. By putting it as a higher age certificate, older teenagers and young adults may be more inclined to watch it because they think it'll be more grown up and age appropriate for them, because it is not aimed at younger viewers with a softer storyline. I think that our film would definitely attract older teenagers aged between 18 and 20 because, as the cast is fairly young themselves, they can identify with the film more than someone aged 30 could. By making them feel like they too could be part of the film, it adds more anticipation and fear as they watch, especially for female viewers, because of the range of young girls targeted throughout the movie. This also highlights the fact that anyone could be targeted by the stalkers in everyday situations, meaning that the thrill of the film stays with them far after the film is finished. The majority of the film is seen through the stalker's point of view, using Dutch angles in particular, or from someone else watching the girl being followed. Because of this, when an audience watches the film, they feel as though they're watching the girl through the stalkers too, making them part of the film. By involving them like this, it scares them even more because they see what happens as if they personally had done it, making them wonder what kind of people they are actually capable of behaving like. One of the flashes of the film shows a girl laying unconscious on the floor, covered in bruises, and is filmed from a high angle, making the audience feel like they are looking down upon their victim after they have beaten them. This angle is quite personal, which heightens the involvement. I think this quick flashes towards the end are most effective for this because they are more shocking and show the victims after they have been attacked, and also show other victims, not just the original protagonist.
Our film makes use of a series of short clips interspersed with the main part of footage. One of these shows the female protagonist walking into a room, and as she turns around, a figure behind the door steps out and shuts it. I think this could be quite scary for the audience because it is so unexpected. Another part that I think is effective is a shot from within the woods where the female character is seen walking through the trees. This works well because it is seen through the stalker's eyes and involves the audience.
I think that because of these features, the audience is impacted in that they realise what sort of things can happen to normal people in normal places. A lot of horror films, specifically older ones such as The Mummy, released in 1932, are set in unusual or faraway places, and so don't scare people as much because they don't directly relate to them. Our film, however, is set in a normal house following an inconspicuous young girl who has nothing about her to suggest that she is anything but normal. This makes the audience start to question how safe they are, and questions the idea that they are safe just because of where and how they live. This adds an extra thrill to the film and means that the story stays with an audience, which I think that if someone knows this will happen will be more attracted to the film because it gives them something that other films do not. More recent films like Scream, released in 1996, make use of this idea by setting their film in a typical environment. Scream is based inside a young woman's house, similar to where parts of our film is set, and because of this, I think that we have complied with some horror conventions whilst also being original and unusual. Our title sequence is very original, I think, because instead of just having a blank screen with backing music and the name simply being typed, we made use of a series of photographs, and by doing this, we were relating back to our storyline of having a group of stalkers following and murdering a variety of girls, with the photos indicating who they had already captured and who was next. Although this part was unusual, our voiceover can be linked to that at the start of The Strangers, because there is a woman panicking and crying on the phone and sounding very distressed. To be able to create our 2-minute horror opening, we had to have a good knowledge of how to operate the cameras and accompanying equipment. We also had to be able to use the editing software Adobe Premiere Element 7. We spent 2.5 days filming all of the footage we needed for our final piece, for which we needed to be very careful in regards to costumes and props to ensure continuity. We had several problems with our filming schedules due to differing weather conditions and illness amongst the cast, and so the days we filmed on weren't following on from each other. However, by ensuring that we started filming each section at the right time, being careful of light conditions so that the footage was able to be edited correctly, I think that overall our film was very successful. After we had finished filming, and during the editing process, we realised we didn't have quite enough footage and so filmed a few more pieces simply between us. This worked quite well because we needed shots of other girls to be incorporated into the film, and so it didn't matter that Louise, Matthew and Keegan weren't there. These bits of film were for the sequence of very short clips at the end of the film. We were intending on using both a tripod and a dolly for various parts of the film. While we did use tripods throughout to ensure a steady shot, we had several problems with the dolly. We wanted to use a tracking shot when filming at the garages, following Louise as she walked past the figure hidden between two garages, but the dolly was broken and so made the shot far too jolty. We were unable to get the long tracking shot we wanted because of this, but managed to turn it into a cross between tracking and panning, by using a tripod and twisting the camera to follow her, which actually looked very effective. If we were to refilm our piece, however, we would definitely try to use a dolly again, because this would have been far easier and we've been able to stick to our original ideas. As said before, we used the editing software Adobe Premiere's Element 7 when creating our finished film. We had several problems with this software, although it was very useful in creating the finished piece we wanted. Because of slightly different light conditions, two shots we wanted next to each other looked too different. With this software, we were able to brighten a slightly darker piece of film so that the difference was unnoticeable, meaning that our film looked much more professional and ran better. By lowering the colour in the other shots, it created a blue tinged light, which gave the film quite an eerie feel, which I think adds the sense of dread the viewer would feel. Also, the music we used, Spiderized on a royalty-free website, was too loud in parts where we had dialogue, like in the title sequence, and so we were able to cut the music and lower the volume of certain parts, whilst gently increasing it back to normal in other parts. Because we were able to do this gradually, you didn't really notice it getting louder or quieter, which meant that it was far more effective. The problems we found, however, did delay the editing process. We initially were having problems with the software crashing or freezing, which meant that sometimes work was lost, setting us back again and having to redo it. Once we had finished editing, we started having trouble with saving a finished AVI file, with it getting halfway through saving and then freezing again. After quite a while of trying to fix this, we discovered that because of the many very short clips of film towards the end of the film, it wasn't rendering properly, and so we had to render small parts at a time. By doing this meant our film would save and be a finished product. This was quite stressful for us at the time because we didn't know what to do to fix it, but it definitely taught us that when editing in Adobe to render the film every time a new bit is added. At both the start and the end of the editing process, the whole group worked together on editing because we needed to work out what we all wanted it to be like at the start, and at the end we wanted to check that everything had been done properly. In between, we took in turns editing sections, normally in groups of two, so that you could get a second opinion on how something looked, whether it could be done better. I think that we worked very well together because we had all the problems with saving towards the end, but we just supported each other instead of turning on each other. We also worked well together because we had very similar ideas on how we wanted the finished product to look, and so we weren't constantly arguing on how to do it. During filming, we were all present at all times and took turns directing in each location. This was very beneficial because it meant that we had to think independently and also plan ahead to see how the footage had to fit together. No one person did all of the work in our group. We split it evenly and fairly with people's strengths in mind as to what each person did.